You broke the story. What do we know?
Sure. Well, we know at this point that the Justice Department now is asking questions of Tesla regarding the tweets and what were behind it. And we know that anytime the DOJ starts asking questions, things have gotten very serious.
How do these types of investigations normally play out? What are the outcomes we can expect?
Well, I think it depends on how far this investigation goes. You know, it's quite common for DOJ to run a parallel investigation to the SEC. DOJ would be looking at whether any criminal fraud laws were broken, which would require some type of criminal, some type of intent to deceive investors. And, a lot of times these things can take, several months to play out. And, if anything is found, then you get into a next sort of stage of, what evidence is there and kind of who knew what and potential fines for the company if there was anything, found. I think one issue is whether, how broad this investigation can wind up going. I think Tesla said, today said they've received queries from the Justice Department, and we're hoping that they could, answer all their questions and that this will go away. Yet, we've now seen in the past month, sort of the chief accountant for Tesla, abruptly resign, and that's something that not just the SEC would want to be asking about, but DOJ would want to know sort of the story behind that.
A number of recent executive departures from Tesla in the finance department specifically. Max, do you think this new criminal investigation will have an impact on Tesla operations, which are already under pressure? Will it have an impact on buyers?
Well, I think the kind of, the core Tesla fans are not going to be dissuaded by this. If anything, I think some people are sort of attracted to the bad boy reputation of Elon Musk, which seems to be only growing with this latest criminal probe. I think recruiting is going to certainly be an issue. I mean, anytime you're trying to bring over, experienced executives at a time when the labor market's really tight like it is now, a criminal probe is not going to, be an enticement. And on top of that, the stock price is obviously not doing great, so that's another thing. So it's sort of this kind of a bunch of little things that all together could add up to something, that would be a big problem for Tesla in the long run.
Meantime, Tom, this DOJ investigation happening alongside the SEC investigation or potential SEC investigations. We don't know, what is the significance that there's also civil investigations underway?
Well, that's always something that lawyers for Tesla would be mindful of, because they don't want to, inadvertently harm themselves in defending against sort of civil actions in the way they respond to sort of regulators and the Justice Department. Yet, I think the primary concern for them is going to be on that end. But it's always something that's kind of running in the background, is you don't want to sort of harm yourself in court against private actions while trying to resolve a government matter.
Meantime, Max, Elon Musk is still tweeting. He's tweeting to customers about delivery. Do you expect to see any shift in Musk's behavior?
I think you would think that his lawyers and PR people are advising him to kind of cool it on certain subjects. His freewheeling nature has always been kind of one of the strengths of the company. This is a company that spends very little on marketing, that kind of relies on its larger-than-life chief executive and its reputation to drive customers. And that's, I think, we're seeing the other side of that with this probe. I mean, one problem that Tesla has is that if the Justice Department or anyone else is trying to establish intent, they have this enormous Twitter account to look at where Musk has been talking, for months about the short sellers. And I'm not sure that is going to add up to anything criminal or even civil, but there's definitely a lot to work with. And so I don't know. I mean, on one hand, if you work for Tesla, you'd like to see him cool it. On the other hand, it's kind of been their secret sauce. So I'm not sure what the best answer is.
And, we're going to be talking about this a little bit later in the show, but could this be an opportunity for competitors? We're going to be covering the Audi e-tron launch in just a few moments. Do you think competitors like Audi, like some of these luxury car companies that have Tesla in their sights, could turn this into an opportunity?
I mean, I think the competitors are playing a long game here. The Audi car, you know, it's still a ways off from actually being available to customers. I mean, I think anything that causes customers to doubt that Tesla is a sensible choice is going to help the legacy players. Because right now, Tesla has been sort of arguing, you know, you should try this new kind of bold thing. And in fact, it's a better car. But if customers start to doubt that, they start to doubt the trustworthiness of the company or whether the company has staying power, you know, that is going to, you know, hurt confidence and I think ultimately hurt sales.
Now, Tom, say the DOJ finds Musk and Tesla, Musk or Tesla, criminally liable. What kind of penalties could Musk personally face, and what about the company?
Well, that's a bit down the road, but the company, you know, could face, it would sort of depend on how they looked at how much damage was done here. And, you know, those are calculations that are kind of always done based on the evidence that's found. And in terms of, you know, a lot of these settlements that come out with, you know, major companies are negotiated settlements. The government's not necessarily looking to put a company out of business. The main thing they're looking at is making sure companies are operating above board. And so I think, you know, a lot of companies will wind up spending a lot of money on a new compliance program. You can just ask Walmart, which has spent, you know, $1 billion on compliance and legal fees and a long-running investigation involving their matter.